Oh, it's time. Time to get radical.
Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to Radical Comment of the Week for March the 9th through March the 15th, 2021. These are the very best comments from that time period. Starting out with the three honorable mentions, we have Red Stratus 97, Sneaky V, and Destroyer of Heroes. The bronze medal comes to us from Gianni Rivera. A big example of gatekeeping in gaming is the Shin Megami Tensei series. Persona is a spin-off of the series and hugely popular. However, Shin Megami Tensei, the main series, is older than Persona, but has a smaller fan base due to most of the games not being available officially in English. In the general gaming landscape, Persona is all over the place and hogs all the attention. It's caused a huge divide in the SMT community, where a lot of SMT fans have become super elitist and call Persona fans fake fans because they stick with that series and don't play the primary games. Whether it be due to the difficulty of the main series or lack of schoolgirl dating elements, who knows? The other issue is due to Persona making so much money and gained so much popularity, the company has created both series. Atlas kinda shoves SMT to the side and focuses more on Persona. Shin Megami Tensei 5 was one of the very first games announced for the Switch back in 2017 and still hasn't come out yet, laugh out loud. Meanwhile, we got a Persona 5 character in Smash Bros., a new Dynasty Warriors spinoff, a music game, and even an enhanced re-release of the original game. In my opinion, both sides are stupid, and the elitist SMT fans are hypocrites because they haven't played the original Japanese NES games. They don't want to play the precursor games because they complain that it's too archaic and old, but that's exactly what Persona fans say. We see this a lot, in many different game series, especially like role-playing games, where people just do not want to play the older games for whatever reason, even though if they're really good. Like one series is Fallout. A lot of people really love the older games, and you wouldn't get the newer games without the older games, but they're a lot different, Whereas like a Fallout 3, big departure, first person and everything like that, a lot more marketable, So from a standpoint of the company, I can see why they want to market Persona versus the other series. I've never played Persona. I've never played the other series, but I barely hear about Shin Megami Tensei, but I've heard about Persona. From a business standpoint, it would make sense for them to continue to push Persona. And even if they re-release maybe some of these older games, then they might put something on there like the series that started Persona. I see that from a business aspect. Moving on here to the silver comment, we got TV games. I've expressed similar opinions to Rostopopoulos about the likes of Patreon before, so I understand where he's coming from. If there is a clear demand from an audience for quality content on a regular basis that has long turnaround time and or expense, then I don't personally see it as e-begging. It's just that a lot of the more popular channels have Patreon while offering content that hardly seems like it takes 2 hours from conception to upload to make. It's probably easier to have a softer eye towards Patreon if you step out of the realm of video games. I subscribe to some YouTubers who offer content that people would pay actual money to hear in the real world, exhaustive video essays, educational and historical lectures, thorough instructional videos, and more. A good example is Techmoan. He presents straight-up technology, really going in-depth on a lot of the vintage and modern electronics, AV, cameras, kitchen, etc. Almost all of this has to be purchased and oftentimes imported on his own dime. But there's a clear demand, as he gets tons of requests for specific gadgets all the time. With regards to Ross's example of LGR, he has to keep several computer operations to test and demonstrate a wide range of old computer software and perennials. Again, he has to purchase items at his own expense to demonstrate. Though he is a collector, so one could argue he would have bought them anyhow, but perhaps the Patreon income is the difference between spending 40 to 60 hours to put together something that really highlights, explains, and educates opposed to just throwing a camera in front of it and bumbling through a quick look at this neat thing with long pauses and However, I do share some of the disdain towards Patreon that you and others hold when it comes to those who think they can just quit their jobs and play video games and make quips for a living. I don't see value in talking over some footage or offering barely thought out opinion on something you spent a half hour playing. When you see their Patreon links, you have to laugh and ask why. Heck, even my own content is nowhere near worthy of even though the Patreon having a Patreon anytime soon. Who I, and I assume Rasta, are giving a pass to with regards to Patreon are people for whom the outcome requires hours upon hours of actual, not fun work, research, writing, rewriting, more research, fact-checking, shooting, retakes, and extensive editing. People who think they can just plug in a controller, fart out content, and shake a tip jar. As to why it's understandable people see Patreon as e-begging, but considering the depth of knowledge, education, historical archives, and instruction accessible to all without paywalls or limitations of any kind, and without the meddling of direct corporate sponsors, I do see Patreon as a necessary evil. If you think about it, it's nothing new. PBS has been doing something similar for decades with their pledge drives. Of course, they're not going to throw someone just playing the game up on their airwaves either. A lot I could really kind of... This is a big comment with a lot of different things. Let's see here. All right. I don't think Patreon has any place on YouTube. I just don't think it does. In 99.9% of cases. And I always speak out on how stupid it is, the idea that you would give someone money to regurgitate news articles on their Patreon. You would give someone money to play video games. But you talk about the more detailed type of things. At what point does it become a service? An actual service is what you really have to look at. Let's say, for instance, there's a person one-on-one with someone. Let's say you contact someone outside of YouTube one-on-one, and they need assistance. They need your guidance in installing an alternator in their vehicle. All right? Let's say this person, through whatever means, whether it's a phone call, whether it's a Skype chat or whatnot, walks them through this process. They take their time, to walk someone through a process. Then you could make a clear argument on that one-on-one scenario. Then that person should pay that person on that one-on-one scenario. I would see that maybe as like a business transaction, for instance. Now, e-begging is defined clearly from accepting money online without providing a service. The gold medal comes to us from Scary Jersey Guy. I got a good story for you. Phasmophobia? Phasmophobia was a really fun game. I bought it the week it came out, and for a one-man project, it was a pretty solid indie multiplayer game, and I could smell the potential a mile away. So I started putting together a weekly series dedicated to the game. Now I'm a big believer in having a good relationship between a channel and a developer. Hell, I work with developers all the time. Every time I review a ROM hack, they always drop by and thank me for playing their game. Some have taken my reviews and improved upon the formula. I love that sort of stuff. So I started sharing clips of stuff, engaging in discussions, retweeting and announcements, and posting the occasional picture of a ghost that scared the crap out of me. Only trouble was the developer didn't seem to acknowledge any of my posts on their page. I figured, hey, it's a one-man project. Don't take it personal. You can relate. They're developing updates. Eventually, the Mega channel started covering it, and it got really popular. That's when I noticed the developer was retweeting their videos, their post, commenting, them liking replies, so I figured he wasn't busy. Everyone is sharing ghost pictures, so I jumped on and dropped this beautiful HD close-up of a ghost that was literally inches from the screen. It was a 1 in a million shot, not a peep from the developer. Everyone else seemed to like it a lot though, which kind of left me with the feeling that it got lost in the shuffle, or he took a look at my numbers and figured I wasn't a big enough channel to deal with. Here's a problem. He liked to tweet above and below mine, so I stopped playing right there. That sort of shit really bothers me. It's a giant middle finger. Hell, not even that, because it means they even paid that much attention, paid that much of the bigger channel's attention. It's just one of the hundreds of games that are gifted and wound up uninstalled because something new came out. While guys like me would still be playing it today, pumping out that weekly show, generating sales over a longer period of time, keeping interest alive, building a dedicated fan base and brand loyalty. Now, I'm well aware of the concept of marketing. You want to get more eyes on the product And by only dealing with the popular or marketable people, because if a guy with 20 million subscribers does a video, there's going to be a lot of eyes watching. Yeah, that's common business sense. But let me tell you from the perspective of a guy who makes videos on YouTube that doesn't care about the numbers and algorithms, these people don't give two shits about your product. They're only latching onto your stuff because their entire business model is aimed at generating as many views as possible. That's why they play things like Animal Crossing. That's why you have some dork reading articles lifted off Kotaku. And that's why all of a sudden you have so many people suddenly wearing shirts with Pitfall Harry. And guaranteed after the dust is settled and the new Final Fantasy VII Part 2 has come out, you're going to see a ton of people making videos saying they played every Final Fantasy game as a kid. And oh, look at the Chocobo behind me. I'm a fan. Point is, these big channels you want to market to don't really give a shit about the Amiku. They don't care if it succeeds or fails. They just want the clicks and they move on like parasites. Now me, I love the concept and the idea of all these kick-ass games I've been playing for the last 30 years are going to be remade with new graphics and new audio. I'm sold. I don't give a I'd a gaff if it's stronger than a mobile flash game. I just want to play River Raid again, and you bet your ass I'm going to be posting new videos nonstop showing off skill and high scores. But I have gone and asked Tommy multiple times about the future plans for remakes of older games and popped up the question if there's ever going to be a remake to Wild 9 several times. Never got a response, but he did like the time I called Pat a Brillo-headed fuck. Instead of focusing on guys like Pat, who feed off negativity and have been proven time and time again to just be bitter ballbusters, instead of focusing on trying to wow channels that are obviously only hanging on for the clicks, focus on the little guy sometimes. We might surprise you with our loyalty, or we might just forget about pre-ordering altogether. Yeah, clearly from a marketing perspective, you could see how someone who's trying to sell a product would disregard a smaller channel and only kind of link up with the bigger channels, you know. I could see that from a business perspective, but it's not right. You know, you took the time out to capture a 1 in a million shot, and a lot of other people seem to like it. And you said they like the comment above you and below you. That's when you realized that, well, not worth your time, right? I'm all for basically giving people fairness. Hell, the comment of the week here, you know. Sometimes people get the comment of the week that I don't really even talk to that much. I don't judge it by the bigger or smaller channels. But if comment of the week were actually replicated on a bigger channel, probably more often than not, you would see people getting the comment of the week or the goals that basically had the bigger channels because they'd be doing it from like a business perspective. Like, I don't view YouTube that way. I don't look at it from a business perspective. It's just a hobby to me, right? And that's why I think I come across as so genuine. I really don't care about, things like progressing the channel or views or subscribers. I don't care about that. I'm about, creating a quality product. And I'm for recognizing when there's quality comments. You talked about loyalty, brand loyalty. I think about brand loyalty whenever I just got a comment I had to respond to from someone really angry at my thoughts on The Last of Us story, and they didn't have kind words, and I'm making an assumption that they're a big fanboy of The Last of Us. There's a lot of The Last of Us fanboys, and they will defend that story up and down and sideways. And I think about that, the concept of brand loyalty. That's the other side of brand loyalty, though, Scary Jersey Guy. It's people that will actually, take up for a brand or a new anime or a new movie series or a new TV show or a new video game series. If there's clear issues with it, but they will take up for it.